See how we go. I think I'm live. Can somebody say hello if you see me and hear me? Let's just give it a minute. Well, Facebook is so clunky now with the live streaming from Zoom to Facebook groups, but I'm just going to go in and double check. Yes. Okay. It's worked. Fabulous. Okay, cool. Hello. Welcome, everyone. Welcome. I'm just going to wait a few moments for people to start joining us live. There we go. I'm going to pull up on my phone so I can see comments. Awesome. Great to have you here. Hi, Linda. Lovely lady. Great to see you. Who else is here? Say hi, please, so I know who I'm chatting with. Debbie. Hello, love. We've got Maya. Great to see you all. Okay, just organizing some tech. I think we're all good. All righty. Welcome. So excited for day 2. I trust that you guys have had an amazing time tuning into day 1. We covered all sorts of different topics around your creativity and how it is a pulse, right? It's the pulse of creativity. It's like a heartbeat. And when we find the spark and uncover the spark that like activates our creativity, it's the whole system alive, and how creativity is really fueled by this energy of aliveness. So I'd love to hear in the comments how you're doing, how you've been integrating yesterday's session, if there's been any big aha moments or any big, anything that you want to share, any insights, any aha moments. We're going to be moving forward from yesterday, delving into like a deeper layer of this whole process, this garden of entrepreneurial delights, and really wanting to uncover here today your business as art. Really, what we're looking at is life as art. But for the sake of today's process and today's exploration, we're really talking about business as art and how you can create your business as a masterpiece in motion. So I really love using this expression as a masterpiece in motion. It's in motion. It's constantly moving. It's constantly being refueled. It's a masterpiece, right? We are ultimately putting out something into the world that we feel beyond excited about. That's the level that we want to be at, where our contributions to the planet through the lens of our business is something that refuels our sense of aliveness, that really activates our capacity to feel alive and to be in our aliveness through our art, through our craft, through our soul's mission. So what I noticed, and what we sort of touched on a little bit yesterday, and we're going to peel into deeper here, is how many people actually treat their business like a machine, like it's a mechanical thing, right? We lose touch with the soul of our business, the soul of our soul's purpose. We come right down into the 3D, into the strategy and the tactics, which as a business strategist, I will hereby say is super important. We want to have business strategy and tactical strategy that we're incorporating, but it is secondary to the energetics. The energetics infuse into the strategy and the tactics. And so this is something that we always want to have a gauge on. We're going to delve into, we're going to really climb into this like layer by layer. Where are you still treating your business like it's a machine? Where are you trying to like perform functionality? Where are you relying on what other people are doing? Where are you like coming back to like this notion of best practices and like really kind of drying out the essence that actually is your business in action, that is your masterpiece in motion? So this is a big conversation, especially for women in business. Women in business function very differently to men in business. You've probably noticed. I know we have a few guys here, but we're really speaking at that like feminine energetic level with like, how do you actually create a business that is anchored in feminine essence, right? That is anchored in magnetism, AKA I draw towards me. I do not chase. I'm magnetized towards me. I show up in the fullness of my pleasure, of my joy, of my aliveness, of my passion. And that is the thing that engages the vortex that magnetizes the right kind of people towards me. So we're going to delve into this because ultimately, if you are to see your business as not as a machine, but as an evolving masterpiece, as something that you must realign to again and again, realign your creative energy, realign your aliveness, realign your joy, your love for what you do in your business, then that's when business starts to become really effortless and magnetic, as long as we are anchoring in intuition, right? So you heard a bit of my story yesterday where for a long time I was like very heady in how I went about business, very mechanical, very kind of like hyper strategic, hyper tactical. And it was really missing the core essence of why I was doing what I was doing, why I was putting myself out there in bigger and bolder ways, why I was like riding the roller coaster of business, which sometimes it's really fucking easy and sometimes it's really fucking hard. If we're treating business as machine and like seeing it as like individual parts that have to be come together, almost like how, you know, Western medicine sees the body, that it can be broken down into individual systems, which yes is true, but ultimately we are a holistic being at the end of the day. We are one being, one system. It's important to see the same as for your business as well, that it is one cohesive system. And yes, we can get technical and we can get specialist and we can uncover which of the systems and which of the parts aren't necessarily in alignment or aren't working to the best of their capability. But ultimately, we want to resist the urge to mechanize the business and to make it mechanical, because then it loses its complete sense of aliveness and passion, and you lose your sense of passion and aliveness in return. And people feel that it feels dry. It's like the essence of the business dries out, right? So I hope you get like the metaphor here because it's really powerful. So a really great component that we need to layer in on top of here, yes, it's important to look at how much you love the business and how much you love the offers and how much you love the messaging and how much you love the people that you work with and the clients and the transformation that you serve, that you facilitate. But before that, we need to have a conversation, an important conversation regarding how in love with your life are you? How much are you actually enjoying the day-to-day behind the scenes when no one's watching, when you're not filming for social media, when you're not like expecting clients to be looking over the shoulder? How much are you actually living in and opening up to and enjoying your life, like being alive in your life? Because what I see happen a lot is that women, particularly when they're in their business, they perform what they need to in order to have a message land. But behind the scenes, their life is like not in any way, shape are they feeling like they're really alive and living in their life, right? So they can show up to their sessions, they can show up to their content creation, they can show up to like the business as a whole, but it comes through this lens of like it's performed, it's mechanical, it's not true to their nature, it's not deeply connected to their sense of actual aliveness, because they're not living full wholeheartedly in 99% of the time in their everyday life. So we need to understand that our level of play and our level of joy and our level of aliveness and creative expression and capacity to fully be open to life directly impacts how our clients experience our work. And this is such a fundamental energetic piece. When it comes to creating a business that's rooted in joy and pleasure and play and feminine energy rather than like masculine forcing function, this is actually one of the big, like the mechanics behind that, right? Is that we need to be living and loving our life because it spills over. And if we're trying to manufacture inspiration, if we're trying to like just go through the motions, turn up and like perform like the performing monkey, that energy, it seeps into everything. It seeps into our messaging, it seeps into our sales, it seeps into the kind of clients that we attract. And ultimately, obviously, it seeps into our profit margins. Ultimately, it seeps into the overall experience that we have with our business, whether it actually feels like it's refueling us or not. So as we're having this conversation here, there may be some big aha moments, right? Now, yes, as we spoke about yesterday, creativity comes in cycles. yes, aliveness can come in cycles as well. So there will be times in your life when you will feel like you have more aliveness, more passion, more joy, more excitement for life than others. When I was breastfeeding a newborn and being awake all night in the middle of the night, I definitely didn't have a fully opened sense of like passion and aliveness because I was exhausted. When we're dealing with like when life is lifing, right? When we're dealing with the way that life functions at the same time as building and scaling business, we need to know how to dance between both. And this is one of like the core energetic pieces that actually contribute to businesses losing their sense of aliveness, you losing your sense of aliveness in business. So a question for you here is, where in life do you feel fully alive and where do you feel stagnant? Where are you turning up to your business and having to cultivate a sense of passion and excitement for what you do? And where are you actually unleashing true magnetic, like the true magnetic current of life force and joy and magnetism? And I would actually love to hear some reflections in the comments here. What we want to ensure when it comes to like anchoring in true power, because ultimately our capacity to like deal with business and deal with life concurrently is connected to our sense of power, right? How true we are, how connected we are in our true power rather than a circumstantial power. So I talk about this quite a lot with my clients. It's really important. Circumstantial power means that like when life is going really well, I feel really good. I feel really empowered. I feel powerful. My business feels good. When I'm making lots of sales, when I'm attracting all the clients, when like things are going in my favor, my level of personal power is really high. But when things aren't going in my favor, when I'm not attracting the clients, when I'm not attracting the energy of the people that I want, when I'm not filling out the offers, when I'm not selling the products, it directly crashes my capacity to feel powerful in myself, right? So ultimately, business is always going to be mirroring back to you what's happening internally in your own energetic well-being, in your own energetic state. And from that place, we can say that like there is a transfer of energy that happens when you're showing up in your marketing, when you're showing up in your sales, when you're showing up in your client experience, right? There's a transfer of energy. That's really kind of all it is when we boil it down. And when you are cultivating true power that says, no matter what's happening in my world around me, I hold my power. I know that I am the creator of my reality. The only thing that I have choice over is how I choose to respond to what's happening in my life, to what's happening in my business. It's really powerful to us to actually see the difference there. I have a pop-up that comes up on my phone every second day, and I actually set it like a reminder. I set it in my phone about 2 or 3 years ago when I was working with an old mentor of mine, Tori, and it still pops up every second day. I lead the energy in my life and business. I lead the energy in my life and business. And I'm going to keep that as a pop-up reminder every second day, probably, I think, forever, because it is such an important reminder. Whenever it pops up, I check in. Am I leading the energy here? Or am I being led by the energy? Am I in like the dishwasher of life right now? Or am I leading the energy? Am I actually creating? So I'm going to pause and I'm going to have a look at some messages here. My life on the day-to-day is joy. It's my business that is stagnant. I haven't had an alive idea for a long time. When I'm with clients and witnessing their positive change, I feel truly alive. When I have to create marketing or even just getting messages on social media, I have to deal with tech issues, I'm flat. So it's really powerful to see like the inspiration points here, right? Like the things that are going to be inspiring me and like activating that sense of creativity, that sense of aliveness, that sense of joy, and the things that are going to be depleting them. And so you say here, Debbie, I haven't had an alive idea for a long time. And I'm going to speak about why businesses lose their aliveness, right? Because it is very connected to, yes, the living that we're doing in the day-to-day, but also like, am I truly opening up and being the fullest expression of what I'm here to do? Because ultimately, when there's a sense of like disconnect or unaliveness in our business, especially if you're in soul-based business, soul-led business, where the work you do in your business you believe is your soul's work, if your level of satisfaction is low and aliveness is low, it's often because you're not doing the level of work that you're really called to do. Either you're hanging on to old messaging or old offers that once felt alive and that once ignited you, but now kind of feel like you've just done them in the past, so you're going to recreate them. Or what's happening is there's forcing structure instead of allowing evolution. So like anchoring more into the mechanical nature of business and losing that creative edge, like losing touch with the raw material of your creative genius, which is what we spoke about yesterday. And like actually like actioning that without overthinking and over perfecting and going into like needing it to be really polished and really proper, letting it be raw. Well, the other component that can often happen is when we have a fear of reinvention, where we worry about our audience. We worry that they're going to be confused if we suddenly start talking in a deeper level, in a deeper way, if we start pivoting in a deeper way. We worry we might lose momentum. We worry we might, like, people might fall off the bandwagon. And ultimately, when it comes to creating a business that feels really soul aligned, we need to have the right kind of soul aligned people. So there can sometimes be this misalignment, like this phase in between an old way of operating and a new way of operating, where it's kind of like the messy middle, right? Where we're still not quite seeing the payoff for the shifts that we're making in business, or like the pivots that we're making, or the big up levels that we're creating in our own well-being and our own mindset. Where like life is still showing us the old way and it hasn't quite caught up yet. I see this a lot when I do RTT, rapid transformational hypnotherapy, with my clients, which is like a big upgrade of the paradigm that they're living inside of at a subconscious level. And it can take time for life to, like, for the timeline to fully anchor in, the new timeline to fully anchor in. And in that moment, we absolutely need to, that's when we're called to hold the vision more than any other time. We must hold the vision. We must keep maintaining the vision of what we're wanting to create, even if life isn't giving us the examples or the evidence. We spoke a bit about that yesterday. So when it comes to actually reinvigorating aliveness in business, what we want to make sure is that the words, the frequency, the offers, the energy, the branding, like the entire bit of output that we're putting out into the world as it relates to our business, to our soul's work, is upgraded, frequency speaking, to actually match the level of evolution that we have stepped into, right? The more you evolve, the more your business evolves, the more your offers evolve, the more your message evolves, the more the people that you work with evolves. And our best offers, our most congruent offers, will always come from our most alive, creative, inspired self. So what part of the business is feeling unexciting or is feeling heavy? What part of the business is feeling like it's dull, like it's missing the fluorescence? It's missing the magnetism. For those of you that know Gene Keys, this is like Gene Key 15, the shadow of dullness to the gift of magnetism and the city of fluorescence. Every single circuit activated, alive, on fire in your body. And the shadow of that is dullness, no activation, just living, no spark, no nothing. So this is a frequency band, right? When we're in the magnetism frequency band, it's like, what is contributing to that sense of dullness, of like uninspiring, of like no aliveness? What is contributing to that in my business? What is the messaging, the positioning, the offers, the actual target market that I am speaking into, that I'm recreating with my words? Because who I speak about, what I speak about creates my reality. And this is so true in a messaging perspective. And how can I actually assess where I need to up level, where I need to evolve at a strategic and tactical level? So this is what we're going to be talking about today. How do I up level? And where do I up level? And why am I up leveling? And one of the best things that we can do from a really practical perspective is actually do an audit. And I love this word. I used to hate the word like audit, kind of like the tax audits, but this is more of an aliveness audit. So in your business currently, what feels most alive and what feels most dull? What feels most fluorescent for you and what feels most uninspiring? Are there programs or products or offers that you've created that if you're really honest with yourself, if you're like, if my business is a masterpiece in motion, that offer is not a masterpiece to me. Or it might be like that offer is 80% masterpiece, but there's the 20% that I need to refine. And it's really great to think about it from this perspective. The offers that I put out there, are they masterpieces? Am I like beyond excited about them? Could I like talk about them? Could I scream about them from the rooftops because I am that excited? I am that lit up. I'm that passionate. I'm that alive when I talk about my work. Yes or no? I would love to hear in the comments if that's a yes for you. My offers are masterpieces in motion, or yeah, like maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe they're not really spark. If I'm really honest with myself, maybe they're not actually sparking real excitement for me at a gut level, at a womb level, at a pussy level, at a heart level. Like, is it really activating my body somatically? Is it turning me on? Yes or no? Because ultimately, the capacity that you have to facilitate aliveness and transformation and inspire people and like move people to take action, to move towards you, to say yes to your transformational offers, to say yes to your products, ultimately is informed by this sense of fuck yes. Fuck yes. Like, let's fucking go. Let's go. Let's go. So audit your offers, audit the content, have a look back over the content that you've created. And like, how often do we not do this? We're putting content out there, but are we actually going back and really like with a really clean and clear perspective, analyzing like, did that piece of content really do it for me? And if it didn't do it for me, then it's not going to do it for them. Right? Like, who am I really speaking to in that piece of content? Because who I'm speaking to is ultimately who I'm going to get. Have a look at your offers. If you're not feeling like a full body fuck yes, my offers are masterpieces in motion, and understand, like, is it the transformation that I need to actually deepen? Like, am I still working with my clients at a surface level? Do I really want to be doing a deeper level of work with my people? Or maybe it's the who you're actually working with. Am I still working with people who are at the real rudimentary early stages of the journey that I support them to go through? An old mentor of mine once said, and I think it's such an important thing, it's so much easier to take someone from 10 to 100 than it is to take them from 0 to 10. So where are you at with the kind of clients that you're calling into your life? Are they at that 10, or are they still at the 0, or even like -0, or even 2 or 3? One of the biggest things is that as you evolve in your evolutionary journey, in your like awakening, your clients are going to be evolving at the same time as you, right? And so if you're evolving like this, but you're still speaking to a client who's down here, obviously there's a mismatch there. Bringing up the quality, the caliber, the level of client that you're working with, and really deepening the transformation that you're here to facilitate is like one of the fastest ways to actually recalibrate so that you're full body locked and loaded into the offer that you're working on. Potentially need to look at the container itself. So the pricing, like, am I being paid enough? Am I charging enough for the value of this transformation? Am I charging enough for what I'm actually putting into the offer? Because let me tell you, if there's a pricing mismatch, of course, you're not going to show up to the offer with as much excitement and joy, unless the offer is strategically priced that way. So unless it's like a feeder offer, right? Something, a smaller, lower cost offer designed to flood fresh people into your pipeline so that you can then upsell them into the higher levels of work that you work with, that you work at. But if you're talking about a core offer, something that like you're really giving like huge amounts of power and energy and attention and love and commitment to, if you've outgrown the pricing structure unconsciously you're going to be like in deep avoidance or resistance to it. So when we up level in ourselves, in our own collective, in our own individual awakenings, we can hold a deeper level of space. We have a broader perspective on what we're actually doing in our soul's work. We can facilitate a deeper level of transformation. And ultimately, we can charge more for that. We're working with a more deepened kind of client, a more seasoned kind of client. We're facilitating deeper, more seasoned kind of results. And ultimately, we can charge more for that. So cut what's not aligning. And this is where I really encourage my clients who come into my world to actually kind of be a bit ruthless here. We're not here to fuck around, right? We're really not. At the end of the day, our work is soul mission. Not only that, but we've only got a certain amount of time per day. We have family commitments. We have a life that we're living. So why you want to ask the question, where am I spending my time doing things that just don't excite me anymore? And if I was to really run my business through this lens of my business as a masterpiece in motion, what needs to go so that I can make room for the next evolution, for the next phase, so that I can really leap into this next level of work, so that I can cultivate more aliveness, more joy, more excitement, more passion that ultimately inspires and magnetizes and transforms clients' lives. People's lives are being changed through that. So the next thing that I want to speak about in relation to this is learning how to consistently refine your messaging to actually reflect where you are now, right? To actually reflect where you're at in your evolutionary growth, where you're at in your professional growth, where you're at in your personal growth. Your audience will feel the energy of your words. If your words feel uninspiring or flat or dull, your people are going to be uninspired. They're going to feel the dullness, right? Your people are going to feel that as well. So when you look at the message, when you look at the content, when you look at the copy that you're writing about your products or your services, what part of it feels outdated? What part of it just doesn't spark something in you? If you don't feel it when you write it, they don't feel it when they read it. If you don't feel it when you speak it, they definitely don't feel it when you hear it. And this is one of the biggest problems that I see with the AI, the rise of AI generated content. I use AI a lot. Now, I'm not here in any way saying I do not use AI or I don't approve of it. I love my ChatGPT that I have oh my God, it's amazing. I've done so much with it over the last few years. It knows my words, my style, my mission. It knows me really well. But it's really important, if you're going to be using AI generated content, to ensure that you're infusing your personality, that you're not just copying and pasting it. I know we spoke about this yesterday, but that you're actually weaving passion and joy and excitement through the transmission that is your content, that is your marketing. At the highest level energetic perspective, your marketing is a sacred activation that will activate your people to move towards you when you speak the tone of truth. And so what is that tone of truth? And is it imbued with that sense of aliveness that you must carry forth? This also shows up when we're actually stuck in education phase in business rather than activation. And now definitely old levels of old templates and blueprints around content was very focused on educating. And yes, education is really important. You want to facilitate problem and solution awareness for your people, right? So that they self-identify that you are the person, you are the expert that they're going to come to have this problem solved and to have that desire facilitated, that outcome facilitated. But when we're stuck in education mode, the really rudimentary kinds of content, when we're stuck simply educating and not actively activating, we're more explaining, right? We're speaking to a lower level of consciousness. We're not trusting that our audience is smart, that our audience knows, that they know shit, that they're going to figure shit out, that we don't have to put them through a step-by-step process, that when I can speak from a place of deep embodiment and deep aliveness, when I can activate them, when I can help them put 2 and 2 together to make 4, that's when they're going to start to have those aha moments. And the more aha moments people have from your transmission, that is your marketing, the more they're going to seek you out, the more that their like reticular activating system in their brain is going to go, this woman, I need to prioritize this woman's data as it comes through my subconscious. I'm going to bring that up from the subconscious mind into my conscious awareness, and I'm going to hyper focus on her as being someone I need to pay attention to. This happens when people experience aha moments through our transmissions. The more deeply embodied you are in your sense of aliveness, in your voice, in your capacity to like speak and to write and to move, to inspire, to be magnetic, the more that process is actually going to be facilitated. So we can really see here how the energetics actually inform the strategy, and how the strategy is always only going to be as like the integrity of the strategy is always only going to be as potent and as impactful as the energetics upon which it's sitting, as the energetic foundation that it's anchored into. So I'd love to just pause, and I'd love to hear what's coming up for you as we're speaking. Ultimately, this is masterpiece in motion, business as masterpiece in motion. Where am I not creating a masterpiece? Or where am I creating an offer, but like it's 80% good? The 20% is like, oh, I need to like really refine, need to really like anchor in. I need to focus on serving and serving and serving even more. Your creative energy, as we mentioned yesterday, is like the lifeblood, and creative energy is life force energy. So does it feel fun? Have you infused and aligned your creative energy with your actual brand presence? Now, this is a really big one from a visual perspective, right? When people visually encounter your business, whether that's coming to your website, whether that's landing on your social media, whether that's coming into anything that you like, coming into your field, how does it visually transfer? What is the energetic transference that happens when they visually see your brand? Is it doing what you want it to do? Is your branding and your visual representation actually aligning with the words that you're transmitting, with the offers that you're facilitating, with the transformation that you're saying you can facilitate for your clients? Your life that you're living, is it actually aligning with the deep transformational work you do with your clients? Is there congruence there? Can you hand on your heart say, I'm walking my talk, I'm living by my process, I'm doing my work on myself first and foremost? And then is that actually transferring in the way that your visual brand actually shows up to people? The more you're bringing back the joy and the play and the real life passion, the more magnetic things become, the more magnetic your business becomes, the more you're speaking to transmit truth, the more you're capturing that visually. And that can be a tricky thing for some people. I will hand on my heart say one of the best investments that I have had in my business is to have it professionally branded by someone who energetically got what I was saying, got what I was actually all about, and to have it land in a way that people are like, yeah, every time I feel your creativity, every time I feel your brand, it aligns with who you are. You have to feel that first and foremost. So this can be like a subtle undercurrent here. If we're not feeling like we're showing up in the fullest power and potency with the visuals that really align with that, we can sometimes subconsciously sabotage it. Maybe we feel a bit embarrassed about how we're visually being represented. Maybe we don't even know how to visually represent what it is that we energetically are transmitting. And that's a beautiful process to go through that process. I do this with some clients as well, of like, so what is it that you're about? And how is it that we can visually encapsulate that through the colors, through the fonts, through the symbolism, through the photography that you're incorporating into your business? And then aligning that with all of the words, the frequency, right? So if you were to redesign your business right now, if you were to redesign it from scratch, what would be the things that you would focus on to have it feel fun, to have it feel fulfilling, to have it ultimately feel effortless, and to really like re-engage that magnetism. You know, the magnetism is the battery that on one end it attracts people, and on the other end it repels people. And we have to be okay with doing both. The more we can attract the right kind of people and filter out the wrong kind of people, the more our content and our marketing and our output is actually doing the brunt of the work for us. So that by the time someone comes into our field as a potential client or a potential customer, we've already filtered them out, the right ones and the wrong ones. Do you even know what that is, right? Like, it's a really powerful question to ask this on the regular. Am I actually speaking to the highest level of my client, to the highest level version, to the success-oriented, empowered, coachable, has the money, willing to invest, looking for the investment? I always like to say this to myself, like, bring me the people that have the resources to say yes to me and the courage to say yes to themselves. And that infuses a lot of what I put out there energetically into the marketplace. So let's just take a breath. I'm going to have a squiz at some of these comments. No, there are some older problems that are ho-hum these days. The products are great, but I've moved on. I find that it's difficult to discern excitement in the programs when there is burnout in the mix from pushing shit uphill. 100%, Christy. I know that that's a big one, right? And then we can have the fear of recreating burnout as well, which kind of has us in stasis. So it's like a nervous system freeze, right? Because we don't want to recreate any sense of burnout from the past as well. No, that's a big one. That's a big one for a lot of us, especially if we have like pushed something and made it and forced it and pushed it and pushed it and pushed it and pushed it through that masculine like forcing function, right? Like penetrating the world with like the intensity of our willpower rather than actually sitting back and figuring out, understanding, embodying our magnetic qualities, the things that activate that magnetic battery in our system, the things that have people go, oh, yes, or, oh, no. And often, this is what's so beautiful about this. Often the most powerful thing is showing up even more potently in your authenticity. I had a beautiful conversation with a client the other day. And I said, what's your biggest takeaway from our session? And she said that it's okay to be wild, that it's okay to be crazy, that it's okay to be kooky in how I'm showing up in the world. Like, if you are showing up with the fullest expression of who you are, kooky Christy, crazy Tash, like wildling, as much as you can, as much as feels fun for you, then that in and of itself is going to be doing the polarizing. It's going to be bringing people towards you that are like absolute fits, absolute soulmate clients who resonate at that same frequency, who want to be more like that. And then it's going to be repelling the people who are like, oh, she's too much for me. She is too much for me. So once again, it's a permission piece. Can you give yourself permission to be more you in your business, to be more authentic, more real, more raw, right? We're talking the raw material of your creative genius. This is not something that is polished ultimately. And for me, as a recovering control freak, this was one of the biggest things that I actually had to learn, was how to settle my system and be okay with putting things out there that weren't perfect, that weren't polished, with putting my imperfect, unpolished, raw and wild self out into the world, vulnerable, impactful, out into the world. For me, this is the core of my life's work in my gene keys. Gene key 59 moves from the shadow of dishonesty into the gift of intimacy, for those of you who know your gene keys, and the divine superpower of transparency. So for me, when I realized that every time I was pretending to be someone that I wasn't, that was me in the shadow of my dishonesty. And the more truth I can infuse into my words, into my frequency, into how I'm showing up, the more I can let people see the messy, crazy, the messy mum, the uncertain, the vulnerable woman, and be okay with that, then the more people are actually they're going to feel that sense of connection, right? Because that's true intimacy. And I'll give you a really powerful example here. Some of you may have heard this story. So a few years ago, I contributed to a multi-author book, and we had a really big goal for this multi-author book. We were going to get it to USA Today bestseller, which meant like thousands of sales, a huge marketing effort, a huge marketing push. And I was like, right, this is a great opportunity. This is a really powerful opportunity. I need to be strategic about how I write this. I need to be tactical about how I write this, because this is going to be landing in front of lots and lots of people. And so every time I sat down to write this story, my story, and the whole idea was that you had to write a letter to your younger self. It was called the Younger Self Letters. The whole time, every time I sat down to write with this intention, with this context, it was like extracting teeth from my face. It was beyond difficult. Didn't flow. It felt conceited. It felt like it just felt dry. It felt dull. Talk about dullness. There was no life in it. There was no energy at all. And I sat and like procrastinated and pontificated. And I ended up like the deadline for handing in our chapters came and went. And I still hadn't written a chapter, because I knew in my heart that the one story that I knew I needed to share was the story that terrified me the most. So I reached out to the publisher and I said, I need more time. I'm sorry to be that person, but I need more time. She said, I'm going to give you another 48 hours. And I spent 48 hours delving into what I look back on and call my bathroom floor moment. When I was in the grips of postnatal depression, when I had a little toddler, when I was like about to make a decision to exit stage left from this lifetime. I was like, I'm done. And I was in the bath and I was like really about to make a big decision that I could never recover from. And in that moment, the whole bathroom filled up with ancestors, with people, with spirits. My grandmother, who just passed away 3 months prior, like it was the most profound experience of my life, came like in full throttle to support me in that moment, to support me, to help me see that there was light at the end of the tunnel, but not that kind of light, the other light, the embodied light. And I knew that I had to write about that moment, but I was terrified that it was going to discredit me, that I was going to be sharing all about my suicidal ideation, that I was going to be sharing all about mental health and postnatal depression, and that it was going to discredit me, that people were going to look at me and be like, why would I invest with her? She's a basket case. That was my absolute greatest fear. And anyway, I wrote the chapter. It was like the most cathartic, but painful, but powerful, but wild experience. And for 3 months, we had this marketing effort. And oh my God, I lived with so much uncertainty and anxiety. It was like, oh, fuck, what have I just done? What am I about to put out into the world? We got our book to bestseller, USA Today bestseller, tens and tens of thousands of copies sold to get it to that ranking. And of course, what I feared absolutely didn't happen. I had people flooding my inbox saying, thank you for being so real. I am in that place right now, or I've been there. I have a lot of shame around it. Thank you for shining a spotlight on it. Ultimately, the biggest lesson learned from that memory was your authentic truth, your authentic expression, it heals. It transmits this frequency of truth that is beyond anything that you can perform or cultivate or create from a mechanical perspective. And when people feel it land, the right kind of people, it hits them in the heart. They are compelled to move in, to lean in, to take action. So it's a big process to realize where you are still not being as authentic in your fullest expression. And like social media, building an online business is pretty wild, right? Because like in no other career are you expected or encouraged or invited, not expected, are you invited to share yourself so profoundly on the global stage with all of your people looking on. But in order to really take things to that level, in order to really to shed the shackles of the dishonesty in action, of the victimization in action that says, I can't be that, I can't be my truth, I can't embody my authentic power, we have to meet that fear again and again and again. And we have to cultivate the courage to be okay with it in the face of it. And that is how we reinvigorate aliveness in ourselves and in our business again. That is how we attract the kind of clients that are ultimately like soulmate clients. So we're coming to the end. I'd love to hear your takeaways, your insights. Like, what is being alive? What is being activated in you right now? What is like alivening in you right now? And I have some questions that I would love for you to sit with before our next session tomorrow at 10 a.m., not 12 p.m., at 10 a.m. The first question is, what part of my life is most exciting right now? So where do I feel that sense of fluorescence, that sense of aliveness? Like, yes, I am in my life. I am living my life. How is this my life? And what part feels dull? What part feels uninspiring? Where do you know you need to reinfuse that sense of aliveness again? When it comes to your business, where are you feeling drained? And how do you believe that is actually connected to how you're feeling in your life? And can you see the parallel there? And the third one is, if your business was a piece of art, how would you describe it right now? If it was a masterpiece in motion, how would you describe it? Where is it missing something? What is it missing? What needs to be evolved? What needs to be upgraded? What needs to be reinvigorated? What's asking? What's demanding to be reinvigorated? Okay, so thank you. I trust that what we are doing today, my overarching intention is to inspire and to activate and to call you forward in your business, in your life, in your creativity, in like giving yourself permission to access the raw material of your creative genius so that your business becomes alive again, so that life becomes alive again. Because remember, when we're in our creative genius flow, all of our circuits are turned on, all of our centers are activated, and it is like the current of life force that is moving through us. It is incomparable. The only other times that I can like equate to it are like full-blown orgasms and the birth of my children. It's that level of energy, right? It is full life force energy moving through you and activating you and magnetizing you, and in turn drawing towards you the people that you are here to serve, that you are here to support. So that is all for today. How can I bring more creative energy into my life? How can I activate my business as masterpiece in motion even more deeply? And how can I love my life even more completely? Thank you. Thank you for being here today. And I will see you tomorrow at 10 a.m. Okay.